questions of whether Newt Gingrich is a goner. The Republican presidential candidate has gotten rid of his campaign manager, a third of his staff, and is cutting back his campaign schedule. Because he's low on delegates, cash, Gingrich now plans to reach out to delegates one-on-one in an effort to win the nomination at what he believes will be an open convention come August. Now, in a radio interview just this morning, Newt Gingrich defended this strategy.
Until Mitt Romney has 1,144 locked down solidly, I owe it to the people that have helped me for the last year to represent their views and their values. And I find it fascinating. You know, none of you guys would call a football team or a basketball team and say, gee, why don't you drop out? No, we're staying in. That's exactly why we're downsizing and doing what we need to be able to stay in.
So let's bring in, as you see there, a News Nation political panel. A.B. Stoddard, associate editor, columnist for The Hill. Steve Deace, conservative radio show host, a regular, both of them on News Nation. Steve, I want to read something from Salon, and it's called The Delusions that Sustains Newt Gingrich. And it says here, what Gingrich is doing then is accommodating a certain amount of reality without really acknowledging it. This way, he saves some face and some money while still getting to insist that he's a candidate for the nomination, that he's simply pivoting to a new phase of his candidacy. He doesn't have to tell his critics that they are right, meaning his critics who want him out of the race and say he can't win. What is the big strategy that he's talking about here?
Well, I think what Newt is alluding to is there is still a somewhat uphill climb to get to 1,144 delegates by Mitt Romney. Michael Steele, who devised this primary system, this is his system. He was on your network just a couple of weeks ago, and he said it would be very difficult for Romney to get to 1,144. I spoke last week with someone with Rick Santorum's Super PAC, and they have a strategy in line the Santorum campaign does of infiltrating a lot of these caucus states that have non-binding contests earlier and trying to up their delegate count and take delegates away from Mitt Romney. So the margin for error for Romney to get to 1,144 is still very slim. That is still not a slam dunk by any means.
So you believe that there is still a reasonable chance for Newt Gingrich to be a player here?
Yes, I think anybody, when I do the delegate math here, and I think the key date for your audience, Tamron, is April 24th. That is the key date. That is the Pennsylvania and New York primaries are that day. And I think Rick Santorum has to win his home state of Pennsylvania, and he's got to stop Romney from getting all 95 delegates out of New York. If those two things happen, then this race is going to go until at least June 5th, because the calendar in May is very friendly towards Rick Santorum. And so if we're talking about Mitt Romney coming within 100 to 250 delegates either way of clinching this nomination, and you're Newt Gingrich and you're sitting there with maybe 100, 150 delegates, you bet you might still have some leverage in this process.
Okay, AB, are you in agreement with Steve here?
I think Steve just outlined the reasons that Newt Gingrich should get out and endorse Rick Santorum.
That's what I thought. I thought you were making the case for Rick Santorum.
Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
And I think many members of the Republican Party, even those who really, really do not trust Mitt Romney, want to see Barack Obama defeated in the fall. And even those who have given to Newt Gingrich are starting to wonder how we're going to get there. And I don't know that they still want him hanging around trying to bust up a convention. We don't even have brokers for a brokered convention. So what he would do is just try to really weaken Mitt Romney at the convention by trying to peel off some delegates and make hay. So if Rick Santorum is a real threat to Mitt Romney, help him out. If not, let's just, you know, I think that most of the people supporting Newt Gingrich would want, instead of this kind of big convention jihad, a real effort to get a nominee together and consolidate behind him so that he can actually have a fair fight against Obama.
So, Steve, are you for the big convention, quote, jihad that AB just referred to? You're a supporter of Newt Gingrich.
I would love a convention jihad, as a matter of fact.
I don't think I've ever heard this in my life put this way, but go ahead. Wow.
Well, I wouldn't use that sort of terminology, by the way. I might say an open, transparent debate, if you will, or maybe a battle royale. But I think there's a lot of conservatives who still are not sold on the field of candidates as a whole. I think public policy polling put out some numbers last week that 53% of Republican voters still would like somebody else to vote for, or would change their minds from whom they're currently voting for. Romney has shown consistently he cannot win non-Mormon middle-class cast voters in battleground states, which is just death to you in a general election. So I think there's a lot of conservatives that would love the idea of just saying, hey, we played this out for a year, nobody distinguished themselves, let's get everybody together on the same page, go to a convention, and find out who we can actually rally behind. I don't think there's anything unattractive about that at all.
AB, to Steve's point, when you look at some of the numbers out, Washington Post ABC poll shows that Mitt Romney's unfavorable number is at 50%. Last week it was at 42%. I want to play what Arlen Specter said about Mitt Romney this morning on Morning Joe. Let's play Mr. Specter.
What Mitt Romney will appear in October. Bill Rawls had it exactly right. He said that Mitt Romney has changed positions more often than a pornographic movie queen.
AB?
Boy, well, look, I think that the problem for the Republicans is that they didn't like their choices and they had a weak field. They know that, and even if you go destroy a convention that Mitt Romney is trying to get to as the nominee and you blow it open, that Newt Gingrich is not going to be the choice of the Republican Party. He has not been. He won South Carolina, and that was terrific, and he won Georgia, but he's not going to be the choice of the Republican Party. So really the question is it Rick Santorum? Does he have a better shot in the general election? Is he a better nominee for the party, or is it Mitt Romney? But if you're going to go there simply to stop Mitt Romney, you're actually really not a loyal Republican, and you're not trying to help a Republican beat President Obama. Those numbers for Mitt Romney are not good. He has a general election problem. He needs to get started right now, healing the wounds with the women voters and all the other groups that have really have been turned off by the Republican primary race. However, you know, you have to make a point late in the game. It's no longer January 10th. At what point are we just blowing a Republican's chance to get against the president? And at what point do we have to help him?
Real quick, Steve.
Can I address that? Can I address that?
I don't think I have a choice now. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you know, I think that it's not the voters' obligation to decide whether or not this candidate meets my value system. It is the candidate's obligation. Mitt Romney has outspent his opponents 10-1. He spent $17 million trying to destroy Newt Gingrich in Florida. He outspent Rick Santorum 6, 7, 8-1 in Illinois, in Michigan, in Ohio. This is his job. It is his job to say to the Republican base, I am your champion. It is not the base or any other voter's job in the Republican or the Democratic Party to say, gee, how much of a pretzel can I contort myself into in order to sacrifice my soul in justifying for voting for this candidate?
All right,
that is Romney's job. He's had ample resources to make that case, and he can't make that case.
He has a 2-to-1 delegate lead over the other guys. He does every week. That never changes. In the end, he'll have the map. That's the problem.
I promise that that's going to be the last word. I'm going to cut your mic off, AB. Thank you both for joining me, Steve. Thank you as well. I appreciate you both. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow, probably. Thank you, guys. Coming up.
Thank you.